Well, hello, and welcome back to Hexellent.
Hello.
Hopefully we have some returning listeners here.
Yeah. Episode 1 was pretty fun.
I would
got
say so.
a better results or a better group of people that commented on it or liked it, more than we thought. So that was pretty cool.
No, yeah, absolutely. You don't really know unless you take a chance,
Right.
right?
And
cool.
I like this stuff. So this has been good.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm Leanne.
And I'm Brock.
And this is the Hexellent podcast.
It is, yes. And yeah, as we stated, with the first episode, we covered Hexenkoff.
Right.
And we thought that was a great way to kick this off for us and, get what we're doing out there and, see what people think.
Yeah, so we have lots of plans. We, have some future episodes laid out. We also have a couple ideas that I'll let you talk about.
Oh, yeah. As some of you know, we're very involved in, the music world and, the self-expression overall. And we would like to actually start having some guests on every once in a while and talking about
Definitely.
maybe their experiences with the paranormal.
Yeah,
or the weird or the occult or whatever may bring us.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you've ever been on tour, a lot of weird shit happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
sometimes it's not paranormal.
Very true. But no, we thought it would be cool to kind of bring in, some of our friends, showcase their music, showcase their art, but then get them kind of involved in what we're interested in.
Oh, yeah. And if you guys know, it's a tough time for everybody right now.
Right. So. It's a tough time, especially for the music community. So actually, I'm just going to spotlight you. You'll be the first guest on this show.
Please, don't buy my stuff.
So, no. Brock actually wrote our theme song based on my recommendation. So,
yeah, she likes
turned out really well.
She watches a lot of that, like Kill Your Husband stuff, and she likes 80s music. So
I do.
I
I
thought
like
that
this
was a
mix.
good way to blend that together there.
Thought it was very Morrissey of you. So I liked it. I thought it was great. But yeah, so like I said, we have a lot of plans for the future, a lot of really great things coming.
We had one more plan too, about maybe every so often bringing in a story from like maybe a different part of the country.
Yeah. So yeah, we kind of focused on the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania area, but really, we want to start here, but kind of work our way out. So maybe in future episodes, we'll get to the entire state of Pennsylvania, or we get to the entire Northeast, and then move across the country and possibly overseas.
Yep.
Just talking, about weird things.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of weird things that happened here that we need to talk about. And that's what we're here for, to talk about those things.
Yeah, so let's get into it.
Okay, I'll stop being so serious.
So, episode 2. I was really excited about this episode because I moved to Pennsylvania in 2007. I moved to Allentown, to Whitehall, actually. And this is one of those things that, like, I just kept hearing about. I'm like, I really have to go there. This is going to be so cool. This is going to be so scary. And
yeah, it's a weird spot.
then what I found doing my research is that there really isn't a lot. It's all oral. It's all oral history.
It's all whatever you're into. Yes, oral.
Yeah,
Some
so
people are into the oral history.
there's
Didn't.
so
No, it is. It's a lot of stories. It's
Right.
it's a lot of people just passing down stories in the area. Like my dad and his friends, they hung out down there, and weird happenings with them. And I don't know if I should talk about it. My mom might get a little upset. What do you think? Anyways,
yeah, so like I said, there wasn't a lot to be talked about, a lot to be researched. But what I found is that there's a lot of other weird stuff happening in this area in general.
Mm-hmm.
So Constitution Drive is actually in Allentown. It's part of Salisbury or Salisbury Township. I say Salisbury because there's an I in it. He says Salisbury. So who knows?
the I is silent.
The I is silent. There you go.
I don't really know. We could all just be saying it wrong. Everybody says everything different around here.
Yeah. So if you're not from the Northeast, you may be unfamiliar with townships. I said Salisbury Township. When I came here, I was like, what the heck is this? Like every 2 streets, you're in a different township. So basically, these are just like little communities within a city, within a town. So Allentown, Salisbury Township is what we're talking about today.
Yep.
So, Constitution Drive is a street. How about that? It's in Allentown. It's long.
Is it a street?
It's a long and lonely.
All right, then.
Now you're gonna get me. I'm gonna be all red.
Why?
It's a long and lonely stretch
Too
of
many
road.
peanuts again.
It's a long and lonely stretch of road that lies next
Don't
to
want
the.
to talk about the peanuts.
Hey, I don't feel like that's podcast worthy.
I think it's podcast worthy.
I'm allergic to peanuts.
Yeah, but she said, "I don't care if I die. I'm eating the peanuts."
I have an EpiPen.
And she had an allergic
So
reaction.
let me finish the story here. It's a long and lonely stretch of road that lies next to the river and the train tracks. So already that's pretty spooky. You went up there with your friends like a cool dude.
So yeah, it's where all the best folk punk's at.
Folk punk.
Yeah, railroad tracks and train car. Never mind. Over your head.
Anyway, I get it.
Ah.
Like squatters and stuff,
Yeah,
like jumping
sure.
off train.
Yeah,
Sure,
you know.
folk punk. I gotcha. Anyway, now I lost my spot. Okay, so we'll start with the most commonly told story about Constitution Drive. So this is a story about a man and his dog. He walks the tracks in the afterlife, which sounds kind of lonely. According to the story, the man was out walking his dogs along the tracks. He was hit by a speeding train. So I'm not sure if he couldn't see the train, if he fell. I'm not sure what happened, but he was hit by this speeding train.
I'm assuming if he was walking his dogs, it wasn't intentional.
Probably.
Okay.
Probably. The accident actually severed his leg, but rather than dying right away, he laid out there for several days. They say 2 or 3 days he laid out there before eventually bleeding to death.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did the dogs eat him?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, the dogs ate
He
him?
wasn't a cat. No.
Oh, okay. What?
They say that if you die, your cat will eat you, but your dog won't.
I'm pretty sure a dog gets hungry enough, he's gonna eat you.
No. I don't want to think about that. But anyway, they say his dogs never left his side.
I'd feel honored.
His dogs never left his side, and eventually they died from exposure to the elements.
Okay,
So that's
yeah.
pretty sad. Other versions of the story, the man and the dogs were hit by the speeding train. So you can kind of make up your own opinion there.
Yeah, we went down there one night looking for that guy and his dogs. That's definitely a prominent story
Yeah.
about the area. We didn't find anything though.
Yeah, so they say if you go out there late at night, you can walk the stretch of road, and out in the distance, you'll see the bright red glow of the dog's eyes. So I don't know if they're demonic now. I don't know.
Maybe.
So anyway, they have bright red eyes. You can see them from a distance. Locals also say that after a fresh snow, you'll see tracks of 2 dogs and a single footprint. Because remember, the man lost his leg.
Oh, yeah.
Which it must be really hard to walk your dogs with one leg.
I think so.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he have his leg, though, in the afterlife?
See, I don't understand that either. But that's what they say. There's one footprint of a human,
living your best life.
right? It would like grow back or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, footprint of one man, footprints of 2 dogs. The man whistles as he walks. The sound bounces off the trees and rocks and appears to be coming from every direction.
Train.
Yeah. So locals have also reported a sad, depressed feeling and the sound of freight cars hitting each other along the tracks. So you actually bring up a good point. If you ever lived near a train track, they do make squeaking, squealing, squealing sounds that could probably be misheard as whistles or singing
Sad music.
or sad music.
You live next to train tracks at
I
one
did.
point in time.
I did, and I slept so good.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's a great time.
So, do with that what you will. That's basically the story, and that's the most told story. Another commonly told story about the area is that a young girl walks through the woods at night just screaming.
Yes.
There's no backstory to this,
Yeah, that's one. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's all.
but it came up in multiple sources.
Bullshit.
And then the last story about the area, or the last bit of information, is that there are some cannibal albinos back there that become violent when you get too close to their home, which is somewhere out in the woods.
Okay, so it's not that lonely home that's on the road. It's another home in the woods somewhere.
Yeah, apparently you have to like sneak up on it, which is why they get upset when you near the house.
Well, one of the videos we watched, didn't the guy say he talked to the homeowners or something?
Yeah, so actually when we were doing research for this, we came across like a YouTube channel of videos on Constitution Drive. This guy apparently went out there and just did a whole series of videos. And for being filmed on a phone camera, I mean, they weren't bad. They were pretty informative, actually. He did like a whole series on the history. He actually interviewed the owner of the home, which is on the property. He went down to the train tracks. He, took pictures, all kinds of stuff, which was pretty helpful in writing this. But his whole theory about the cannibal albinos is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I guess so.
So
my dad always had that story too about the albinos.
Yeah. So what he says is that, this area, Pennsylvania in particular, is big for white power, neo-Nazi type beliefs. And
yeah.
In this YouTube video, the guy was out there taking pictures, and in the abandoned shacks and train depots, and there was some sort of like water substation thing that was out there. In all of those, there are swastikas, and it's covered in it says SS and Nazis and just stuff like that. And he found apparently like pamphlets or flyers for meetings and stuff back there.
Oh, I'm sure. We've been back there. There's shady characters back there.
So what his theory is that the way this story came about is that they were holding some sort of, probably after the war or during the war, they would go back there and meet and hold Nazi meetings. I don't know what you would call that, but a Nazi meeting, some sort of gathering. And, locals in the community would say, oh, the white power guys are out there, or the white guys are out there. Or someone may say, oh, the pale white guys are out there. And then eventually just, kind of with the whole whisper down the alley game of telephone thing, it got turned into the albinos.
Telephone. Explain. I've never heard that before.
You never played telephone?
No.
So it's where you have like a line of people and one person starts with a phrase and then you have to whisper it to the next person and they whisper.
Down the alley?
Telephone.
Whisper down the alley.
Same thing. It's the same game.
Yeah, it's okay.
But anyway, that's his whole theory, which I find pretty interesting and pretty believable.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I could definitely see that.
Just passing things down to people over time, it could get muddled. Mm-hmm. So we went from white power to albinos.
And I know,
Maybe.
One of our friends, he mountain bikes down in that area. And there's certain parts when you get there, you just kind of want to get out of there. It's just you pedal a little faster. You just get like an overwhelming feeling.
Lots of reports of feeling like you're being watched.
Yeah, and it's just like ominous area.
So I went back through newspapers for a long time. And I mean, like I said, back to like the war, back to like the 40s, 50s. Yeah. This road, it's a very long, secluded road, and it is regularly patrolled by police, but it is a hot spot for violent crime. Rapes, burglaries, indiscernible gunshots, illegal dumping all occur on like a daily basis back there. And actually most recently it's become home to a homeless community. So there's lots of tents and shacks, people living back there in the woods, which could lead to feeling like you're being watched, could
Very
just
true.
kind of be attributed to the overall spooky, creepy feeling, if someone was murdered back there, if so that could play a huge part in this. It could not be paranormal at all. It might just be
it's just all people scaring each other throughout the years, and just the type of activities that go on down there,
right.
And it's just one of those areas. It's like a void. It's like desolate, and
so it's the woods, but it's also the ghetto. A little bit.
The ghetto.
It's a little ghetto-ish.
Okay.
When you say. But I think you kind of mentioned that right there in that area is an abandoned mental hospital.
Well, yeah, it was the Allentown State Hospital, and they actually just demolished that.
Right.
But
this
that
year,
was,
2021.
I would say within the last 8 years or so, that was still up and running.
Mm-hmm.
They still had patients in there. And I know, like, some of the older buildings are still on the property, and I'm sure they had ties in with the, the railway and all that stuff going on in there. And
Yeah, so I really didn't include a lot about the hospital in here because overall, I couldn't find escaped mental patients or anything like that. It was actually more of a homeopathic type facility, so they didn't do any type of shock therapy, or they didn't do any of those gruesome things that you hear about at like Penhurst or anything like that. It was more of a rehabilitation center where they focused on the arts. They focused on other forms of healing rather than medication and treatment.
I know I've definitely, talked to people that work there, and they say, or they said, I should say, they've definitely seen some things like, shadow figures and hearing weird noises. Sometimes they would hear people talking that weren't there, or see something at the end of a hallway. And it's just, certain areas you walked a little faster.
Right. And yeah, there's a lot of that back there. As we mentioned, there's a lot of mountain bikers. There's trails back there. There's hiking trails back there. People walk their dogs back there. We've ridden back there, although it was a little difficult for me, but we've ridden back there.
It is tough. That's a tough one.
Actually found a lot of my information on mountain biking forums. So here's a quote in particular. So one of the reviews, I don't exactly remember the site, but I can post it after we're done recording. I came across some reviews of the trail. So the trail is actually called Sal's. That's what the trail is called. And this reviewer said, "All I can say is be careful if you bike there. There are albinos in the neighborhood that attack people, and there's also said to be a ghost that walks along Constitution Drive. Just to warn anyone that is afraid of ghosts." And I mean, this was pretty recent. Within the last 8 to 10 years, this was posted. So, I mean, like I said, this story has survived years and years.
Well, also, is there not a natural burial ground in that area, like by Dodson Park?
So, yeah, actually, when we were looking at maps, which we will post, I was in particular looking for just kind of how to relate things to each other, like how to relate the mental hospital to the woods to Constitution Drive. Looking at that, I actually came across a natural burial ground. So it's where if you just want to be buried in the woods, they do that. No coffins, no nothing.
Interesting.
So, and I can't exactly determine how close it is because it's all on a hill, on a side of a mountain, whatever. But that was pretty cool. I mean, that depending on how long they've been there. I mean,
I don't know. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, that was pretty an interesting find.
I know. I was also talking with one of the owners of Cutter's Bike Shop, and they actually build at Sal's, and they do a race there every year. And we didn't have the chance to follow up, and hopefully in the future we can do another follow-up or updated episode to this where we can have more of his accounts. We started talking about stuff, but I'd like to get more detailed information from him. But yeah, he definitely had some strange occurrences down there.
Right, so people go out there to build, jumps or to just build tracks, whatever.
Yeah, single track biking.
And, you just get weird feelings, hear weird sounds, see weird stuff.
His was a little more than just a weird sound or weird feeling, but like I said, I don't want to misspeak until we can follow up a little bit.
Yeah, so we'll have a follow-up to that. But so I think one of the biggest things to mention about this area, again, like Hexellent, huge area for Native Americans. In particular,
park.
The Lenape Indians. So this park, Salisbury, and part of the township, were actually Salisbury. We're included in the walking purchase of 1737. So another name for Sal's is the Walking Purchase Park.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're looking for it, you can look for either. But the Walking Purchase of 1737 actually defrauded the Delaware, or the Lenape, is another name for them, Indians out of approximately 1 million acres of land. That's a lot of land.
Yes. That is a lot of land.
So on September 19th, 1737, 3 of the fastest colonial walkers, which, hold up, colonial walkers. So I guess this was a thing, right?
Kind of sounds like a medical group or something.
So just to survey the land, to kind of get the layout of the area, they would send out these colonial walkers, and they'd say, okay, you have 30 minutes to walk as far as you can. And then that's where we're going to draw the property lines. So obviously you want people that are really, really fast. And then there are people who actually did this for a living. So what the state of Pennsylvania did is they've hired 3 of the fastest colonial walkers that they could find, and they gave them a day and a half to walk as far as they could. So they were
bounced. There's like, yo, I'm out. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna walk in a straight line.
And like,
as
how
far
do
as
you
I can.
determine if like someone's running or like speed walking? Like, can you run?
I
Is
don't
running
know.
legal?
I don't know. Do they?
We'll
die-
have to
do
find
they
out.
die of
We'll update that.
dysentery? Is it like the Oregon Trail?
You're too young for Oregon Trail.
I'm not too young for Oregon Trail. I had that in school.
Well, anyway, so colonial
I'm offended.
walkers.
I
So
lost things in that river.
they set out on a 1.5
Tried
days
so hard. You
walk.
tell me I'm too
They were
young.
expected to
Not
cover
too young.
approximately 40 miles. That could be claimed by the Pennsylvania government. The purchase was only to include land south of Tohickon Creek. So again, we're going to post maps so you can see where we're talking about here. Include land south of Tohickon Creek, ensuring that the Delaware tribe did not have to leave their lands. Okay. But Pennsylvania actually misrepresented the Lehigh River as Tohickon Creek, and then forced the Lenape to sign. So they did appeal to other tribes, specifically the Iroquois in the area. They also appealed to the U.S. federal government for assistance, claiming that they had been swindled, which obviously they had been.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The Iroquois decided that it was not in their best interest to side with them. And although the federal government acknowledged that the treaty was fraudulent, due to non-action by the U.S. Supreme Court, the treaty actually stuck. So that's how they got all that land. So the Lenape were forced westward into the Ohio Valley with all the other displaced tribes from Pennsylvania. So I'm sure on those lands, they were very sacred. They were home to a lot of people. I'm sure there are graves and other things out there in that area. So that could potentially lead to kind of the feeling of paranormal, or the passing down of paranormal stories.
Do you think
right?
the albinos cook the meat before they eat them?
I think that's for another episode.
Okay.
Oh God, I was actually listening to this podcast the other day about what was his name? Willie Picton. Oh God, he was the guy that owned the pig farm, and then he also opened up a music venue inside his pig farm, and apparently
That's
he like
right.
murdered like 49 people and was potentially serving their meat as.
Oh, that's disgusting.
So anyway, I don't know. We'll have to.
However,
ask
though, a friend of mine did tell me he got that little snip done down there, down the boys. He got them snipped,
Yeah, I
and
get
he
it.
said when he got that hot prod in there, it smelled a little bit like bacon.
People bacon.
How do you feel about that?
I don't eat meat, so I'm fine.
I don't. Oh my God. you're
So
missing
anyway,
out.
That has nothing to do with the Lenape, but yeah.
This is how I operate. This is what my mind.
So anyway, again, lots of Native American influence, lots of history in this area. Now, the last...
Why does it always come back to Native Americans?
Because this is the Northeast.
And
Like when you
we
go out farther west...
Fuck them.
Yeah. Right, correct.
It's almost like we're living on tainted land because we were assholes or something.
Correct.
Awesome.
So the last story I have was kind of like one of those things I came across, and then I was like, "Oh boy, this is awesome."
Oh boy, can't wait.
Yeah, so this was kind of like an afterthought, but it really turned into something super exciting.
Okay.
And this is the legend of Tambor Yokel. And I'm saying Tambor. It's spelled Tambour.
Okay.
So Tambor.
Tambor.
Yokel. Yokel.
Sounds like a Bath and Body Works, like soap or something.
Like a scent.
Yeah, scent or
Wash
soap.
my hands with Tambor Yokel.
Oh, have you tried to Tambor on your body? It lathers so
No, I
great.
don't like that.
Okay.
Anyway, so rumor has it that Tambor Yokel joined the army to escape a beating from a man named John. He apparently insulted John's wife.
Oh boy.
So he joined the army to get away from a beating. He
Okay.
became a drummer in the war.
Okay.
And the says that while out on the battlefield, he promised his soul to the devil in order to survive the war and return to serve retaliation to John. So apparently, this beating that he received from this John guy must have been pretty bad, because he went years and years wanting to track him down.
It definitely sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah. So upon his return home to Pennsylvania, he went to his local tavern. He's already trashed. He was already pre-gaming or whatever you want to say at this point.
Yeah.
He went looking for John.
Okay.
After carrying on for quite some time, asking, where is John? Where is this guy? Just slamming him back. The bartender actually told him that John had passed away years earlier and was buried in a local cemetery. So the threat of a beating from John must have been so humiliating because Tambor just could not let it go.
Okay.
So even though this guy's dead, he can't let it go. He gathered up some local barflies. They marched over to the cemetery, and they were intent on giving John a beating after he was already dead.
Like digging up his
Correct.
body?
I believe so.
It's abuse of a corpse.
Correct. Yeah, they could not let it go.
Wow.
So Tambor
wait, did this guy beat this other guy?
Yeah, for insulting his wife. John beat.
He wanted to get him back that bad that
Right.
he dug up his body.
He wanted to, yes.
That's insane.
He went to the cemetery intent on giving John the beating he deserved. He just couldn't let it go. Can you imagine being so, stuck on something?
That's a little out there.
So anyway, Tambor got to the cemetery. He jumped up on the cemetery wall and began drumming and chanting. He was basically summoning John from the dead.
Okay.
Okay. So apparently, while he's up there doing whatever he's doing, he fell behind the cemetery wall. So he actually fell backwards so that the men he was with, they couldn't see him.
Oh.
Okay.
Did he get stuck?
So the people that were with him, they began hearing screaming and yelling and seeing blood flying. And they were so afraid to check on him that they just ran back to the tavern.
They just left him there.
All the while, Tambor is back there screaming, yelling bloody murder.
Wow.
Okay.
That's fucked up.
So after they had a few more drinks at the bar, daylight came. They decided, we got to go back. We got to go back and check on him. Okay. So they went back to the cemetery. But what they found was that some sort of fight had taken place. And I say fight. It was a little more than a fight. The ground was torn up. Footprints and hoof prints were visible.
What?
Body parts were hanging from trees.
His body parts?
Right. It says that his body was skinned and shredded, and his body parts were hanging from trees around the cemetery. So this is a little more than a scuffle, I guess. Okay.
Wait. With who? Who was the scuffle with?
Whoever he met when he fell behind the wall. Listen. So in another version of the story, though, his body parts were not found. He was not found skinned and shredded. He was found, but the amount of blood, he was not found. I'm sorry. So his body was not found, but the amount of blood at the scene left everyone to believe that there was no way he could have survived. So either version of the story, he's definitely dead.
Yeah.
He's deader than dead. So what the story is, after the local barflies got together, started talking about what they had seen, what they had heard, the only conclusion that they could come to is that night that Tambor Yokel went to pick a fight with John's spirit and started drumming and chanting to bring John back to life, he actually summoned the devil. Okay? The devil came to the cemetery to take back the soul he had been promised on the battlefield.
Huh. I thought that's a fiddle battle.
Well, this is a drum.
Devil likes the instruments, though.
He does. So there's actually a church on this property now and has been for years and years, where the cemetery is still there, but also on the property is a church.
Okay.
So this story has actually been a part of the church's oral history since 1759. So the church cemetery are still there today. The church has burned down and been rebuilt more than once, but the cemetery is there. The story has shaken up the community so much that since the late 1700s, people actually drive out of their way to avoid the cemetery where Tambor lost his battle with the devil.
Well, now I want to go there. When are we going?
I know. I know.
We actually wanted to go to Constitution Drive, but we got slammed with snow.
Yeah, if you remember in the last episode, we had 17 inches. It ended up being like 30 something.
Yeah, and then we got another storm or two after that, and we weren't sure if it was plowed or not. We didn't really want to take the chance going down there because, it connects basically south side Allentown into the south side of Bethlehem. And it's one of those roads where I'm sure the neighbors don't like seeing people driving down
Right,
there
because
and
they
going
know
down
what you're
the
there
road.
for.
Yeah, exactly. You're going down either to cause trouble, you're going to be doing something highly illegal, or, you're just exploring. And either way, people get a little upset when you go down there.
So, yeah, and back to the story of Tambor. Like I said, this has been a part of the church's oral history, part of the history, of the
I
local
like that
style.
oral history. That oral history is a great way to learn about history.
But anyway, it's so popular that no, my face is turning red. I'm blushing.
She's just drinking.
It is.
That's what she's drinking. She's not blushing. She's drinking.
Yeah. So it's actually, the church is actually called today, it's called the Jerusalem Evangelical Lutheran Church, part of Eastern Salisbury Township. And I thought it was pretty cool that I was actually able to find a library book at the Lehigh University.
Okay.
And I also found this in several articles. So there's several sources out there which we'll post. But this has been turned into a folk ballad. So it's been turned into a song that was written in the 1800s. And it's called The Legend of Tambor Yokel.
Okay.
So I'm going to read you a little bit of the beginning. I don't know the
You're not gonna
tune.
sing it?
I don't know the tune, so I can't sing it. I mean, I could
just
make it
gotta-
up, but you
gotta-
really don't want
You
that.
gotta make it up.
You're the musician, not me. So here we go.
Touche.
Tell you a little bit of the story. So think back to the story I told you, and then this is how the song was written.
Okay.
Tell the story with bated breath, a story of horror and gloom and death. A little church on a lonely road. A little church on a lonely hill. A churchyard near it, calm and still. Fair in the morning's early light, dark and gloomy it seems at night. There it is said, in the olden time happened a nameless deed of crime. And then thank you. And then it goes on to tell the story of Tambor's fight
Okay.
with the devil. So I found that pretty interesting. I thought it was a pretty cool story, and we'll post some of those links up on our site.
So yeah, you get a little bit of everything down there then.
Yeah, and like I said, well, I'm not done yet. Actually, the comment on my my Word document here says, "But wait, there's more."
But wait.
It's like an infomercial. But wait,
Yes.
there's more. So we did talk about the recently demolished Allentown State Hospital. It is very close to Constitution Drive, very close to the Tambor Yokel Cemetery out there. The state hospital actually opened October 3rd, 1912. Its peak population occurred in 1950 with 2,012 patients. The hospital closed in 2010. And like I said, I really couldn't find anything exciting about the hospital. I couldn't.
Sorry, we had a little bit of a hiccup there.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, this is all trial and error.
We also have a basement ghost.
Yeah, we do have a basement ghost as well.
He turns on the heater sometimes. She turns on. I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, the hospital couldn't really find a whole lot about it. Couldn't find anything scary or creepy about it. So I just kind of let it go. The only good story I heard about it, like the only exciting story I heard about it, was that it was used as a set for M. Night Shyamalan's movie Glass in 2012.
Oh, okay, yeah. I
Yep.
do remember hearing about that.
Yep.
Yes.
So that's kind of exciting, but no, nothing creepy, nothing spooky, nothing like that. And like I said, we're gonna post some maps of this area. We will post some links to things you can check out. Go to YouTube, check out those videos for Constitution Drive. You'll learn a lot. The guy has a side ponytail, which is pretty cool, I guess. And like I said, the Juggalo music, if you're into that, he's got that on his videos as well. So it's kind of a...
Juggalo music?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were into Juggalo music.
Well, I'm not, but the guy that does this video series is.
Family.
Whatever you're into.
Whoop. Whoop.
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So do with the information with what you will. It was fun to research. It was something I thought would be interesting to talk about since so many people seem to know of Constitution Drive, the area. So I just wanted to find out what was going on there. If you have any personal stories, you've been there, send them our way. We'll read them on the next podcast.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We hope to keep going. We got some good ideas for you in the future, so...
Yeah, if there's anything, too, if we got something incorrect or misspoke about something, feel free to email us at hexcellentlv@gmail.com.
You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram, Hexellent LV.
Yep.
Come say hi.
And we do appreciate the support and the good feedback so far.
Yeah.
And that's why we're just going to keep on going. And, if you guys dig it, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah. It's been fun.
Yeah. So we hope you guys have a great weekend.
Yay!
All right. Are we going to drink a little bit more now?
I still haven't finished my first beer.